Hello everyone, Vicki Achard here with Nature's Best Art. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm excited to be painting a spring wreath. It hangs above our fireplace. One day I woke up and I saw this beautiful shadowing on the wall. And it reminded me of that ghosting that I showed you on my 6 watercolor techniques for card-based backgrounds, part 1, posted on March 4th, 2020 on my artist blog and YouTube channel. So let's go to the table and get started. So here is my drawing of the wreath, and if you've watched my videos before, you know that I like to put Loew Cornell Transfer paper under my drawing. Then under my transfer paper is my watercolor card, Strathmore 140-pound press, cold press, and you can use any watercolor paper you have. And then on my drawing you can see different colors, and what I do when I get it a little congested with leaves and stems and ferns and all that, I do like to use my Prisma watercolor, not my watercolor, but these are Prisma colored pencils that I use to help me distinguish where the leaves are, etc., when I refer back to this drawing. So that'll help me. And so the colors that we're using today are raw sienna for the wall, where the wreath was on the wall. And then the shadows are going to be from Payne's Gray, and that's from Reeves. And then I have a little distinguishable lines here for like where the wreath was. So that's going to be a darker Payne, part of the Payne's Gray. You just don't put so much water in it, and it'll be darker. And then for the pine cones, I have pine cones on the wreath. They're going to be burnt umber and burnt sienna. The leaves, they're going to be raw sienna and Prussian blue mix. And these are all M-Grand paints, unless I let you know if there's something different. And then a few fern are that dark color there. The Prussian blue makes it, with the raw sienna, makes it the dark. And then the lighter ferns are going to be from azo yellow and cerulean blue mix. And then the pink foliage that I saw on the wreath is going to be pyrol red, a mixture of pyrol red and flesh tint mix. And the flesh tint mix is from Reeves. And then the yellow foliage is azo yellow. I saw little dots of the yellow with the green the green veins in it. So that's going to be azo yellow. So I think it's going to turn out real pretty, I hope. So now I'm going to be transferring my drawing on my watercolor paper. This leaf that I'm doing here, some of the leaves were on, and ferns were on the wreath when I bought it, but some of them, like the berries, the yellow and the white berries and the pink berries, those were from my own foliage that I had on other wreaths, and so it was fun to add to this wreath, and it made it really a pretty wreath, because it was just plain when I got it at Joann Fabrics. So we've been enjoying it over our fireplace. It's very pretty. I have one for each season, so I look forward to putting them above our fireplace. And it was quite detailed, all the drawing, but it was fun. And now the shadows on the wall there were so beautiful. I thought it just framed this the wreath, and I wanted to capture the look of that. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some masking fluid. It's this Pebeo drawing gum, and you've seen me use this before. I have a little bit of white here that I want to preserve, white little dots of things on these stems here. So I'm going to mix this. I'm going to put this over here so this doesn't get gunk on it. Sometimes this drops on my table when I stir it. Just make sure it's all cleared and full of, I can throw that out, cleaned up from the last time I used it. And then this is an old brush that I use for it with my water. Got to get that wet. And then I take my face soap so that the masking fluid won't stick to the brush when I use it, when I use the masking fluid. Okay, and then I'm going to bring back my picture here. Isn't that a pretty wreath? I just love it. Okay, and so I'm going to dip my brush into the masking fluid and just start putting my dots where they're white. There's like little white dots of a beautiful piece of, you know, part of a foliage here. And the stems, you know, will be green, a little green around the dots. So that's what I'm preserving. Because when I put my wall color on, I'm going to be painting that over it, and I don't want to get that I don't want to have that disappear because it's just so pretty. Little white dots. And I'm almost, actually I'm almost out of this masking fluid, and I do have another container of it. It'll probably be a little, you know, a couple more paintings that I could use this, but I'm anxious to see the other you know, I'm anxious to use the other masking fluid jar because it's a little thicker than this, and I don't know if it dried out or what, so I'm kind of anxious to see how that's going to look or work for me, actually, you know. I don't know. I hope it didn't dry out, but I'll let you know when I start using it. There, that's probably about all the the dots that I want to make for that the white foliage. Okay, so gotta let this dry about 15 minutes. So okay, I took my break. I had a tea break with apples and nuts. So now I'm putting my wall color in, that raw sienna. I'm using a lot of water because I wanted to make it quite light. Our walls are light beige, and I wanted to do that. And I'm drying it, and now I'm showing you my acrylic brushes that I got at Michael's in the children's department. The bristles are very hard, and that's what I wanted to use to do this ghosting. And I'm putting my brush in the water, taking the paint off. And did I accomplish that look? Well, I think next time I do the ghosting, I'm going to use a darker color so that it shows up, my light and dark shows up a little better. But I like the look of it. Turned out quite well, I thought. And now I'm painting my shadows in. You can tell now it's starting to put a little frame around that wreath. You'll see me later taking some of that shadow out a little bit because with the beige it turned out just a little too dark for my liking. So, and then the shadow just sort of disappeared on that side. Starting to paint in my my pine cones. And I didn't want to make them too distinguishable. If I was to paint one pine cone, I would have put a lot of detail in, but they were, you know, you can see them at a distance, so I didn't want to be too particular. But using two colors to make the look of that pine cone really worked well. The burnt umber and burnt sienna. And now I'm starting to paint the leaves using my credit card scraper to put those veins in. And I love painting those ferns. They were so much fun. Some of them were, weren't exactly, very, very exact. So I had fun making them a little squiggly here and there. And so that was a lot of fun to paint those. We actually have about 3 fern that I grow outside that I love. Ghost fern, ostrich fern, and Japanese painted ferns. And I actually have made those with my pressed floral work. And I just love this fern because it's so natural looking, so delicate, I think. A lot of times I don't paint delicate looking paintings, so I enjoyed this. Just painting a kind of a different leaf there. And going in with the greener color on that foliage there. And I actually forgot to paint a fern right there. Then I gave my ferns another glaze. I think it's important when you do a painting to put glazes on your work. And I try not to hit the entire leaf, but making it light and dark on each piece there, giving a little shadowing effect. I used my number 4 brush when I painted all the details. My number 2 brush didn't work well. I do prefer the number 4. Number 2, you have to pick up paint too often for my liking. So just looking at it and see what needs to be done. And then now I'm starting to put the pink dots in. And that's with the Pyrol red and the flesh tint mix. And if I would have just used the Pyrol red with a lot of water, it would have made them too red. Even with the water, that Pyrol red is very strong. So that's why I added the flesh tint mix to make it pinker, and that worked really well. Of course, I use my color chart all the time to pick my colors. It really helps me. I just can't stress enough how important it is to have to make a color chart with all your paints in your palette, and then you'll see what colors combine to get the exact color you need. And you saw me put in the yellow, the azo yellow there, the dotted foliage there. And now I'm starting to use my liner brush. I just love to use my liner brush in this painting. It was just so cool to use it because it just did the trick. Even with a number 4 or number 2 brush, they're so thin. And usually I don't hold it so close to the bristles there, but I had so many stems to paint in that I didn't want to, I wanted to make sure I got, my paint right on the lines instead of anything else, and that really worked really well. So if you have a liner brush and you have a very thin space, it just works really well. And I turn my painting upside down, and to make those lines. Just adding a few more. putting a little green around those yellow. And I decided to take some of this shadow out. I thought it looked just a little better because the beige actually made it look too dark. You know, I had beige underneath that shadow a little bit from the wall, and I like that a lot better. And now I'm taking my rubber cement eraser and getting all that masking fluid off. And what you do when you have white, something like a white flower or like these white dots, is you put a shadow or something around it to make them appear. So what I did is I put greenery around it with my liner brush. And that's what I actually, you know, that's how they were actually. There was quite a bit of green around the white. So that worked out really well too. I was really happy with that, the way that turned out. And now I'm just looking at it, thinking about, well, maybe there's a little, oh, there. Now I start putting the wreath in. You can see the parts of the wreath a little bit between all the foliage. So I did that with the liner brush. And now I'm putting some shadow on my leaf, getting it, giving it some some value there, dark and light values. Now you saw me pointing maybe to the right of the wreath. I signed my name, and I'm thinking, oh, I don't know. I think it's a little off balance right there. So I wanted to put in another fern right there, and then make one of them a little longer, and then add one. And I'm really glad I did that. It's a good thing to kind of look at your work, make sure that you think it's balanced, has enough value, contrast. All those things are important in a painting. And so whatever it takes, do that. And right there I thought it needed some more foliage, of which it really had a lot of foliage in that area originally. You know, my wreath does. So I thought that would be better, and it does look balanced now, although I think, you know, I think one more pine cone would be good. And so you'll see me putting a pine cone here. What I'm doing is making those the foliage around that white area a little darker, so it shows up a little better with that liner brush. And so I'm putting the pine cone, and I'm making it look like it's under that leaf. And it turns out that I like that a lot better. Just think it looks so delicate, so pretty. Very happy with it. So yeah, I'm clapping because I'm just so happy that I actually got it balanced the way I wanted it. And the look of the window, you know, it looks like a window to me back there, but it wasn't. It was the shadow of our deck door actually. And but it just frames that wreath so much, so pretty. I just love it. So please give me a thumbs up, and if you like this video, and share it with a friend. I post 2 or 3 painting tutorials a month, and I also post card making videos with my pressed floral work. So please subscribe to my channel. It really helps my channel, and join in on all the art and crafty goodness. Until next time, happy creating.